I'm so excited to be here today, and we have a fabulous guest that is just going to amaze you with his art and all of his beautiful pieces. And I am thrilled to be here. I see that Sandy, hi Sandy, I'm so glad you're here. You're having your coffee. Well, I'm having water. Amanda, thanks for being here. Yeah, no, we're here. 2 minutes to go. No, we're on time. I see. Okay, so Susan, it looks like you're here. Carol, I think Carol's going to miss it, but she's going to catch the replay. Hi, Gabriella. I'm glad you're here as well. It's so nice to see all of our members from the group Artist to Artist. Well, I'm sure that you heard everything about it yesterday, which yesterday was a complete nightmare. Facebook had disabled the group, and it seems like there was another group that was with a similar name. And I guess Facebook decided that they would just take them, disable all of them. And the other group, from what I understand, I received some information today that they're bogus. So I guess Facebook was just doing a cleaning house. I have submitted a new name. I've also did everything they told me to do, and I only have one time for them to review it, and hopefully they will open the group back up again. But if they do, they do. If they don't, I'm not worried about it. I'm checking on some alternatives. So, but don't worry, at one point we will all be together again. Hi, Esther. Janine, thanks for being here. Susan, Kim, good to see everybody here. It is a real pleasure to be able to bring these shows to you and to bring guests that I know you're just going to absolutely love. Just a quick announcement. I wanted to tell you that our spring issue of A for Artistic is out. And to make sure that you check our site, let's see here, if I can bring a picture up on it. Just give me a minute. For those that have not seen it, here we go. This is the cover of the new spring issue, and it has a lot of great articles in there that you might want to look at. Phyllis Morrow is the featured artist, and she's the one on the front cover. Hi, Jeanette. Glad you're here. Hi, Sandy. Yeah. You know what? I stressed about it all day yesterday and finally just said, I let it go. I did what I had to do. I sent it in, and if they approve it, fine. If they don't, fine. But immediately I started checking out alternatives, and I think I have found something. Right now I am checking it all out and posting in it. I just want to make sure that it runs smoothly. And another thing that I like about it is that we can speak freely, and I like that. We won't have to worry about if we share a link or not, and I think that might have been one of the issues as well. But I'm not going to go into that right now. Today is Joey MacPhale's day. He's a NIADA artist, and I'm going to bring him in just a minute. I just have to do some switching of screens, and Joey is waiting for us in the green room. So, bringing in Joe. Hey, Joe, nice to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. We have a great group here waiting to talk to you. There's Sandra, Esther, Lori, Janine, Susan, Kim, Kimberly. There are a bunch of ladies here waiting to hear everything you have to say.
Well, thank you, everyone, for showing up, and I'm delighted to share some of my knowledge and any questions that you may have of how I design and I make my products.
So, Joe, I know that you have been working for several years now on, now let's hope I don't trash this up too bad, and you pronounce it Automata, correct?
Correct.
Very good. So, can you tell us a little bit more about what is Automata?
Okay, an automata, which is mean many of them, the single name will be automaton. It was created back in the 15th, 16th centuries, and it was done by the horologists, which is the people that make watches and timepieces, and they wanted to portray their knowledge and their fine tuning of their craftsmen in creating a human figure that will actually move. And that's how the automaton was created. They used to make the pieces, and then they will take them to shows and show people, and they were amazed because back then they didn't have technology like we have today. An automaton like the one in the museum in Washington that is called the automaton of Millardet. Millardet was the one that designed it. Is a automaton that is considered the first computer because the bank of memories that produce all the movements, which there are 72 of cams, are able to store that information. It's very interesting. It's a lot of moving parts, and if you mechanically inclined, you will love to work on something like that.
So Joey, how did you get started making automatas?
Well, since I was a kid, my dad was an industrial mechanic for sewing machines, and my mother was a seamstress. So at the age of 9, I was already sewing, and I was going to the factory, and the smell of oil and all the machinery and all the features of the whole factory just mesmerized me. So I always loved the mechanicals. And then through the years, after sculpting for so many years, I decided to create something that will move. Not only that, but in '89, I studied electronics. So I decided to take my electronic knowledge and the art knowledge and mash them all together. And I create my first automaton, which it was exhibited in 2007 at the IDIS show.
Okay.
That's in a case of, which is 42 inches high by 32 by 32. It's a forest. And the more you look, the more you see in it. You have the smell of the forest. You float in the meat air, and you know, you have so many things. You really had to see it. So
yeah,
that
it was an amazing piece.
And then, of course, I made Marilyn Monroe in 2016. I finished her. It took me a whole year and a half of working 7 days a week, about 80 hours a week to produce all the mechanics. And if you were to look inside the doll, you can see that it's actually like a clock. You had to hand carve all your cams and followers and push rods, and all that had to be handmade, and it had to be fitting inside a very tiny space. So it took me that long, but I was excited to actually take it to NIADA, and that was my main piece to actually be voted in NIADA.
Yeah, and it was a fabulous piece, Joe. I saw it in person. We have a question here, Joe. Just a second. Let me get it up on the screen. This is from Sherry. She wants to know, is it like steampunk?
No, steampunk, it portrays the steam era with all the gears and cams, but it's mainly a fashion. It's if you do with the automata.
Okay.
I hope I answered that.
Yeah, let me see if I'm gonna check to see if there's any other questions in here. People are coming in. I don't see any right now. So can you tell us basically, I know, Joey, you said that you were working basically around the clock doing Marilyn Monroe, but is it like that with all the automatas that you work on?
Yes. Some will take 4 months, some will take a year, depending how complicated. The first fairy I did, because everything was big and nothing was really inside the doll, it had some wires, and the flapping of the wings were done with what is called a muscle wire, which is thinner than a human hair. But when you apply electricity to it and the wire hits, it contracts, okay? So it's called a muscle wire because it produces a force, and that's how the wings flap. It's amazing to see how the whole thin wire is applied to, and the force that it can move something that big with such a little teeny tiny piece of wire.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've seen your work, Joe, and it's just amazing how you can get all that electronics to make that piece work. It's just beautiful, really. It's all a work of art, inside and out. Now we have a couple of questions, actually. We have Amanda Short, and she's from South Africa. And she wants to know where you're from.
I am Puerto Rican Scottish. My dad was from Scotland, Scotland, and
Okay, I think you broke up a little bit, Joe. Can you repeat that?
sure. I am Puerto Rican Scottish. My dad was from Scotland, Galloway, Scotland. My mom was from Puerto Rico, and I do play the bagpipes for the falling officers here in Orlando.
That's great. And I've seen you in uniform too. That's pretty cool. Okay, we have another question for you. This is from Kim. She wants to know, do you work on one project at a time or multiples?
Okay, first of all, I do recommend you working one project at a time. The reason is because I try the other way, and you never will finish anything. You move from one to the next, to the next, to the next, and then when you look at, you have 20 projects and nothing is done. So especially if you're working on a show, I suggest you working each piece at a time, unless you're doing a limited edition. That will be the breaking rule on that, okay? If you're working in something that is just one of a kind, or or unique, I suggest you work on that. You dedicate all your time and your art knowledge to one piece at a time. Be rewarding to yourself when you see the finished piece and you can move on to the next one. The reason is that because I think all artists, we tend to multitask and move into different ways. And if you do that, you really can't finish a good piece on time. So you need to dedicate your time to one piece at a time. That's what I recommend.
And I agree with you, Joe. I find myself, when I first started, that I wanted to do so much that I had all these projects going. And then I think after the years, you realize it's better to have full concentration on one piece, finish it, enjoy it, and move on to the next one. I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah,
It works very well.
in your brain, you already finished the piece because you have the vision.
Right.
Once you pass the vision, you're done. So you want to move to the next thing. But that's not the correct way to do it.
That's right. You're so right. And we have another question here. Now, you answered this, but I'm going to put it back up because she just came in. This is Susan. She wants to know what your background is.
I'm Puerto Rican Scottish.
Okay.
My dad was from Galloway, Scotland, and my mother was from Puerto Rico. So
Okay.
I'm a Portish.
You're a what?
A Portish. Puerto Rican Scottish.
And here is another one. Do you use polymer clay, another medium, and sculpt in?
Okay, I used to use a lot of polymer clay when I was doing one-of-a-kinds, and when I started limited editions, I did use polymer clay. The only problem is that when you use, in order to make molds, you had to literally overcook the clay to be hard enough to mold it. Otherwise, it tends to crumble and you lose the original.
Mm-hmm.
If it happened that you're making a mold of something and the part break and the mold is not good, then you will have to reproduce the original piece in order for you to cast it. And if you're working, like, for example, ball jointed dolls, you don't want it to go back and try to fit everything back where it goes after it breaks, because it's not going to look, it's not going to match well. So nowadays, what I do, I use a lot of
Okay, Joe, you probably have to repeat that. It looks like we had a delay. Joe? It looks like we temporarily lost Joe, but he will be back. I see that, David, I see that you're watching the interview. Can you let Joe know that for some reason his broadcast went out? I know you guys are having some problems with weather over there. I'm not sure if it's that or not, but see if you can come back in. Yes, it is frozen. Yes, it looks like there is a thunderstorm, and it seems to be a problem over there in that area for them. Just waiting for Joe to come back in. And he said to me that he was worried that this was going to happen. So we're just going to give it a few minutes and see if Joe can come back in. If not, we will have to reschedule, because I know that everybody wants to hear what he has to say. It's truly interesting, his works. Right now he has a special project that he wanted to talk to you about, and he was going to share some of his pieces for you to look at. So right now I will try to reach him and see. Just give me a minute. I'm going to text him and see if he's going to be able to get back on. Sorry, sometimes this stuff happens. All right, I just sent him a text message. Let's see if he can come back in. Yeah, Susan, you're saying Orlando's under severe thunderstorm warnings. Well, don't worry. We will redo. Okay, I just got a message. He's trying to come back into the broadcast. They're having problems over there. Let's see if I get another message from him. Yeah, he's texting me right now. So don't worry, we will have this. We will redo the broadcast. Not to worry. Sometimes things like this happens, and we cannot help it. Just give me a minute. He's trying to get back. Okay. He says, hang on. He's trying to get back in. He said the power was flickering. Thanks, Nona. Okay, well, just hang tight. Hi, Katie. I'm glad you're here. You know, it's so nice to see all of you here and support this this interview show, or this talk show. It means a lot to me. I was so bummed out yesterday, and I thought, you know, this is not going to hold me down. I'm just going to keep going here. Let's see if he's coming back in. He's trying to. So I was excited to have Joe and to really have a little bit of positive energy coming in this weekend. Yeah, Joe's saying to give him a minute. He's trying to get back on. So don't worry. I mean, we normally run it for about an hour. If we go over, that's no big deal. Yes, Nona, I am very excited to go to Florida. I leave early tomorrow morning, and I still have packing to do. But yeah, we're supposed to have freezing rains today, or tonight, I should say, and some tomorrow morning. I hope we don't have any delays. I know Deb, who I'm meeting at the airport tomorrow, is having some snow over there, about 15 inches actually. And so let's hope that she doesn't have any delays either. So, hey, okay, Joe's back. So we're back on, guys. Just give me a minute. I'll get him back up. Hey, Joe.
Sorry about that. We have big storm when it stormed big time and the power went out.
Yeah, I figured so. And everybody's hanging in there. So they said, no problem. They were waiting for you. So I think I'm trying to get back to what we were talking about here.
I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Here's a question right here. Susan, how did you get into making automatas?
Yeah, when I was a kid, my dad used to fix the industrial sewing machines for JCPenney pajama factory in Puerto Rico. And he used to take me to the factory. As a little kid, I was mesmerized with all the machines. So I've been mechanically inclined since a kid. In '89, I studied electronics, and after that, I wanted to put together art and electronics together, and that's how I started creating Automata.
Well, that's great, Joe. Where do you get all your inspiration? What is it that inspires you to do these beautiful pieces?
Thank you. I like nature, of course, a lot. I like the fantasy world. And I also rely on my own fantasies that I have. I have a vision. Usually my procedure is to put it in paper, take the paper and do all the measurements, and then write in the actual sketch what goes where and what's the proper measurement. And then from there on, I move on. It's a very long and tedious process, but it's rewarding at the very end.
Yeah, so you pretty much sketch things out before you get started? Is that how you do it? Okay.
Correct. Especially if you're doing ball jointed stalls, and you know, anything that moves like that, I suggest you sketch it and put all the measurements in. That way, when you move from the 2D to a 3D, you have a mock-up of what you need to do, and you have the measurements. Always use calipers. I'm gonna show you which one is the one I use. Hold on.
Okay.
Here's what I use. I don't know if you guys can see it. Okay. And this is, I think it's a 6 inches. That's all you need. And you can go into millimeters or you can use inches. And you have the outside to measure here. Now let's say you need to measure the eye from corner to corner. Then you will use the opposite end, and that will give you the measurement from corner to corner. So that's what that little one is for. And in the back, usually you have also is a cheat sheet that will tell you what decimal point is equivalent to what. Okay. That's very helpful. You can get this in Harbor Freight for probably $14 instead of paying 40 or 50, which is out there in the market. And it does the same job. I have this for probably 10 years.
Okay.
But I suggest this.
Okay. That's great. Now we have a visitor that I'm sure you know, and he is asking a question.
Oh, well, hello there, husband. How are you? Right now, he's very excited because 2 years ago, I promised I will make a sculpture of his favorite artist, and it happened to be one of my favorite ones, and that's Helen Reddy. So finally, I start sculpting Helen Reddy. She's almost ready to be cast on the faceplate. The body is cast. I'm cleaning the body, working on it. Unfortunately, I'm not making an automaton right now, but eventually I will. So that's what I'm working on. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, we'll be excited to see it too. Where we had left off, they just remind us, they're keeping track of us, Joe, is you were talking about telling them about the medium you use instead of polymer clay. It was, let's see, another one, was it resin that you used? And that's when we got cut off.
Okay, I use resin nowadays because, of course, I do a lot of casting. And because my parts had to match correct, especially if I had things that go inside the head. I decide to use the resin cast, and then I will take out what I don't like or what I need to resculpt on the faceplate. And then I will resculpt using a epoxy sculpt on top of the resin, what I need to do. And the reason I use epoxy sculpt with the resin is that they're very compatible and you can feather the whole edges to nothing. And once you polish the piece and you make a mold, you'll never know what were where. You know, it's just easy to work with that, and it's durable. Again, when I was saying with the polymer clay, if you bake the polymer clay, you can cast it, but if it's fragile, you can break the piece. And if you break the original piece and you need to make another mold of that, you don't have the master to produce the mold again. Excuse me 1 second. My duck just came in. So anyhow, that's the reason I don't use polymer clay anymore. If I were to do one of a kind, then I will consider to use polymer clay.
Okay. We have another lady from South Africa, Debbie. So let's give a shout out to Debbie here. She's from South Africa. Great.
I
Joey, I know that you also are get into a lot of detail, either the costuming or the accessories, and what kind of process you do. Like what I saw when you were creating, I did and I didn't. I saw some of the sketches when you were working on Marilyn and on the jury, all the accessories. And what kind of process do you do when you're working on those type of accessories?
I worked at Disney 25 years. The last 11 years at Disney, I was a jeweler for them. So I have the knowledge of how to make jewelry. Now, in the case of Marilyn Monroe, the actual assemble that she wore, etc., is a copy of the movie, the opening number on the movie Gentlemen Prefer Blonde. Okay. So I had to explore the movie itself. I could not get the original drawings for the jewelry. So literally I had to sit with the movie and pause it until I could understand the design of the jewelry. Once I did that, then I had to replicate it in miniature. And the process is usually use copper as the base metal because you can solder it very easy. And then you can use regular tin wire that you can get in the hobby shop when you do all the jewelry and beads and all that notions. Usually you get the silver wire. It's actually not silver. It's copper inside with a tin coated outside. That will make it real easy to solder because solder had tin, so it's compatible. Now, once I produce the actual necklace, every single piece that goes around the neck, it is a triangle. And it goes one triangle up, one down. And that will make the curvature of the necklace that you wear. So once you have the triangle wire, then you sorted that wire to the copper base, and then you have to literally clip around the triangle to produce a piece. Once that piece is done and you punch where each jewel is going to be located, then once the whole piece is assembled, then I triple plate that in nickel because it's not as expensive as gold. And in this case, her jewelry was silver. I don't use silver because silver will tarnish, but nickel will not. And nickel makes the part more durable and harder. So in that way, once it comes out of the plating and it's ready to be jeweled, then I will glue the jewels with, the jewels are usually, the smallest one you can get is the SS3, which is less than, it's about a 32 of an inch in diameter.
Okay.
And it's required to have a very steady hand, of course, special glue for it, and the jewels itself. Some of them are flat, some of them are bicone. The bicone is the rhinestone that everybody knows because it really shines like a diamond. And that's the process to produce every single part of jewelry that is on that particular doll.
That's amazing, Joe. I know you go into unbelievable details on all of your pieces, and I know that they're anxiously awaiting to see some of your work. I'll drop out of the screen, so I'll give you the full screen, and you can explain to them your pieces that you're going to be showing them.
Sure.
Okay. Be prepared to be amazed.
Okay, I think everybody's seeing this one. On the magazine. And this one here is my new collection of a fashion ball jointed doll. She is the Egyptian queen. In the front, as you see in the hat, those are the Egyptian keys. And in the back is the scarab, which is one of the main symbols for Egypt. Her dress is all silk. And she have 19 points of articulation, making the doll feel and pose like a human body. This is one joint that nobody have in the market except me, so that is being worked on. And also, I have a patent pending. And if you can see, she will start blinking for you. See? So every doll that I will be making from now on will have a patent on the eye blinking mechanism. And the great thing about the electronics are enclosed in the head. The battery packs is inside the chest, so you can play with the doll as long as you want. You're not gonna break anything, because another thing that I am doing nowadays, instead of putting elastic on the doll, I'm using springs. I actually manufacture my own springs too. It's a long process, but it's worth it because you never have to service a doll. I will show you, put this one back. Let me show you a little bit about the electronics so you can understand some of the process that go into this, because I have a lot of questions. Other people ask me about how do I go about making things to move, especially the eye mechanism. In the first design that I made, I had to include the electronics where they were this big, and this is what Marilyn Monroe had for blinking on the eyes. I had to come out with a new design that I could include all the parts inside the head. And as you can see, the head is only about 2.5 inches in the outside. In the inside, it's about close to 2.25. So I had to go to the internet and find micro components that I can assemble. So now this is the actual size of what goes inside the doll. And this is what makes the doll blink. In the old days, when I started with the collections, this was one of my best sellers, the Dark Alice. I'm sure some of you have seen it in 2010, I think, the winter edition on the Dolls magazine. And it's all silk. This one is double jointed also. So I have 21 points of articulation, but do not have electronics in it. This one over here is one of my favorite designs. It have a 32-inch silk train, and it's designed after one of the chapels in Italy. It's actually a replica of a famous designer called, I think it's Cinco. It's his last name, Michael Cinco. He's from Philippines. And he decided to do a homage to all the Renaissance. So he designed a dress like this. I love. So she's my Renaissance lady. Now that one there is, again, it's all silk. And the process to make a dress like that, some people go thought, where you get a fabric like that? Well, actually, that is produced in a computer. I will play with all the measurements, and then I had to have a long process where I take the fabric and I put a chemical solution, and then I will pass the fabric through the computer, and the printer will actually print the fabric, and it becomes permanent. And then I had to, of course, splice all the parts together, especially in the train. The train is 4 parts put together in order to create the whole picture. The one you see in the middle that is rotating, her name is Victoria, and I wonder if you guess why. She's actually designed after one of the Victoria's Secret models. And that is the first model that I made for this collection. Each one of those have 5 pieces only anymore. So if you have any questions on the piece, or you want to talk about anything else in electronics or anything else, please shoot. I'm here for you to pick my brains and answer anything you have.
Joe, that's fabulous. Your work is just amazing. I've seen it several times, and every time I see it again, it's like, wow, did I miss something there? Can you tell us, while everybody, we haven't had any questions just yet, but let me ask you, I know that you do your casting, you do your own molds and things like that. When did you start doing that?
Okay, at the age of 14, I had a neighbor that she had a ceramic business. And then I show interest, and then she took me under her wings and she taught me how to make molds and how to cast porcelain, how to do lace in porcelain. It's a long process. It's beautiful, very delicate. You can't hardly touch a piece once it's done. And at the age of 16, I have my first collection, my first limited edition on porcelain. And from there on, I've been doing molds in sculpting for 41 years. Making molds probably a little less than that, but not by much. And nowadays, I don't do ceramics. I still have my kiln, but resin sells better. It's easier to work in resin because porcelain is beautiful, but you have to take your part and put it in the kiln 8 to 10 times before you get something out. That's why they sell so expensive. It is a lot of work.
Okay.
Porcelain medium anymore. Some artists from Russia and so forth, they make beautiful works, but you know, you have to be ready to pay really high prices for them because it takes a long time to work in porcelain. So I rather work in resin right now. Resin feels warmer to the touch, so people tend to grab the doll and they feel that it's more real than porcelain. Porcelain is always very cold, and it doesn't warm to the touch of your hand. The resin will do that, and it makes you feel like it's the skin. You know, it's natural.
That's interesting, Joe. Here's a question for you. I'll put it up on the screen. How do you control the humidity so your clay doesn't get mushy?
Well, if you're working, you mean with epoxy sculpt, or you mean regular water clay?
I think she might be talking about polymer clay.
Oh, okay. If we're talking polymer clay, I do not use oil. The oil that you use to soften the clay, that's the only reason you should have the oil for, to actually soften the clay. If you use too much oil, then you get that chewing gum thing that you try to manage it and you can. It's not workable anymore, and anything you put on kind of like crumble on it and so forth. So what I do, I use alcohol. Go to Walmart or whatever and get 91% alcohol, rubbing alcohol. And then I use that with my brushes and a little piece of like an old t-shirt. And I polish and clean it, okay? So if you ever take my class on the ball joint, you'll see the whole process that I use, that you can use to actually keep the clay clean. And most people goes, how come my clay gets black? Well, I'm gonna tell you why, since we're talking about all this gooey and all that. The reason that it gets black is because most of the tools you use, they're made of aluminum or brass. That will go into your hands. And when you work with polymer clay, the polymer clay have a talc, which is like a sandpaper, and that's what gives the color and the consistency of the clay. Well, that rub into your hand, and then when you touch a piece, you pass that to the piece, and that's how you get all the gray spots and all the black spots, and you will go like, this is horrible. I can't get my piece clean, and that's why. So what you do, before you work too much the clay, you take your little rag with your alcohol and you wipe your part, and it'll take all that.
Joe, I hope we haven't lost you again, but yes, even myself, I have used alcohol to wipe down my pieces. And also, I can smooth them out with alcohol, which is nice. If you've got some rough edges, if it's kind of lumpy, I use my alcohol, and what I use instead of a rag, I use Bounty paper towels because it has a bit of a texture on it. And when I apply that paper towel with the alcohol, it's almost like a sanding paper. It sands it real smooth. And I do that quite often because as you're working with it and you have your fingers are indenting in the clay, sometimes you just need to get that real smooth. Now, some people can do it really well with their hands. I'm not one of those. I have to have a little help from that alcohol and that paper towel, and it works pretty well. Looks like we lost Joe for a little while. Hi, Leslie. We just lost Joe. He's they're having some problems with the weather in Florida, and hopefully he can come back in. And like I said, if he doesn't complete the talk show or the interviews, we'll have him back again. I'm sure he'll be thrilled to come back. Let's see here. Oh, I know. We had a couple of questions. Let's see if he's going to be able to come back. I'm going to try to message him real quick. He is, yeah, he said he's lost us again. He's trying to get back in. So, just tell him to try to get back in. He said, I'm working on it. I'll have to ask Joe if he's able to show you Marilyn Monroe. She is an amazing piece. And if he's not able to put her up on the screen for you to see, just go to his website. And I'll put the website here, and you'll be able to go in there and look at her. And she's just phenomenal. Another thing that Joe has been doing is he's been teaching online classes at A for Artistic. And right now he is teaching airbrushing class on how to airbrush your pieces. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a ball jointed doll. It could be a small 10 or 12-inch polymer clay piece. He talks about compressors and the proper airbrushes to use, the proper paints to use, and how to thin them and how to clean your airbrush. And it's very, very informative. And the class is with videos. Here's Joe. Hold on, Joe. Let me get you back in. Oh, Joe, you're just having a time over there. Thank you for hanging in there. I've been keeping them entertained.
The clay sticky. Did any of you got my answer or not?
I think so. I kind of completed it because I also use the alcohol as well. Joe, I think we're getting some feedback on hold on a second. You're on, let me bring you back in. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, I just kind of wrapped it up about the alcohol because it's the same thing I use. I clean mine, and I also use the paper towels. It works like a little bit of a sanding paper.
Yes.
So that works too. Okay, so we have a couple of more questions here. Let me locate. Okay, they want to know, Sandra's asking, what kind of paints for the resin, Genesis or other?
I use acrylic with my airbrush and my hand painted details. I used to use Genesis, but the problem is that Genesis, you have to apply heat to cure it. Right. And too much heat on the resin, you can burn the resin. So you can only do this 1 or 2 times. It is easier to use the Genesis on the resin that is to use it on polymer clay. The reason is that polymer clay will suck everything real quick and it will dry it out before you get the time to smooth, and for example, the blush and all that.
Right.
Porous, so you can get nothing that goes inside the resin, so you have more open time to work if you decide to use Genesis. But my method is to use the airbrush because you get more natural sun kiss in the skin, eyeshadows, anywhere that you have to contour on your face up or your body blush, it's easier to do it with the airbrush.
Right. I just was, when you had stepped away, I had just talked about your class, your airbrush class, and it's truly interesting because the videos that you provide, you talk about the equipment, the right amount of paints to use and what to use and how to use it. And it's pretty informative, and it doesn't necessarily have to be for ball jointed dolls. It could be for other, right? Okay.
You can use this airbrush course for any kind of medium that you're working on it. It doesn't have to be resin. That's a misconception. And it's a question everybody asks me, can I use this in any other medium than what you're using? And yes, because you're not touching the parts. The paint is being sprayed on and then detailing with your hands. That's the last thing you're going to do. So yeah, you can use it in any, you're working with porcelain. You can dilute your pigment and then airbrush it to it and so forth. So there's no limit. It's your imagination will be the limit with the airbrush.
Yeah, and I think part of the scare, I know, like I bought the compressor, I bought the airbrush. It's like hooking it all up together and that scare that you're going to goof it up. And I think that you just have to practice, right?
Correct. One thing that you have to get precise is the tuning of your airbrush.
Right.
And once you get the tuning, you can literally go to the corner of the eye and just airbrush that little pink that you have in your eyes, because it's just tuned to a fine little like a pink, like a head pin dot. So you can do pretty much anything with the airbrush. It's once you get the compressor and then the brush going and you get used to the sound of the coming in and out. That's one thing that scares most people when the compressor goes in and when the compressor comes out. It's like, oh my God, am I gonna break something? No.
Yeah.
You really will have to take the whole equipment apart in order to really do some damage to it.
Yeah, it's interesting when you're starting a new technique. You're just so scared. You approach it with so much caution. Nona wants to know, I won't put this up because it's kind of lengthy.
Okay.
She says, no, this is Nona. She says, some people who put masking tape on their metal tools, do you think this helps?
Yes, indeed. The only problem is that if you sweat too much, the glue of the masking tape will start sliding, and then you start picking up the glue in your hands. So that's the second problem. But yeah, that will definitely help, because I done that with my X-Acto knife, because the handle is just pure aluminum, and this is the only way you can keep that from tarnishing your doll is to put masking tape on it. Yeah.
Right. Deb Wood just came in because her and I have been back and forth with this airbrush thing, and she says, we are going to do this airbrush thing. She says, with no fear. Yeah, okay, I hear you.
I would love to have like a live seminar. I used to do that on the NIADA shows where I teach everybody how to do it, and then we just sit there and literally do it. And once you do once, you lose all that scare that you have. It goes right away. Really easy.
I'm sure it's easy, Joe, but like I said, when you've got equipment going, you got paint to figure out, a lot of stuff going on there. Let's see. Oh, Gabriella says her air tool and compressor are still in the box. Yeah, I get that. Mine is too. Oh.
Don't get scared. Just go at it. Follow the instructions. And if you ever have questions, you have taken my class, I'm only a click away. You can send me an instant message. The phone is always with me wherever I go. If I'm not in front of the computer, when I'm working, this is my studio. As you can see, I'm actually sitting on my designing table. So everything is in front of me. I hear a message, I stop what I'm doing and I go and answer it as soon as I can. So, if you have taken the class and you have a doubt, just contact me. Contact us. That's what we're here for, okay?
Absolutely. I always tell them, we try to encourage people to come in on the forum, and I think they just get bashful. They're not sure exactly what they need to ask, or embarrassed they might be asking the wrong question, but no question is silly.
I'll tell you what, people said, I have a stupid question. And I tell you, the stupid question is the one you don't ask, because there's no stupid question. Okay? So don't be afraid to ask. You will not get an answer if you don't ask. So ask.
That's so true. Paula, okay, you're asking me. Yes, I do work in polymer myself. That's what I work in. I started out in cloth and then switched over 4 or 5 years ago and started working in polymer because I was able to achieve the look and the poses that I wanted to do. So a lot more detail that I could get on the polymer. Let's see, who else is asking here? Okay, somebody is, Deb is saying, hi, Joe, good to see you. We should have you come and show us. Oh, listen to her.
I'll be a guest anytime. Just let me know.
Just get in the car. Yeah, Deb, Joe's class is still up, and people are still looking at wanting to sign up, so I've left it up. I think what happens is, even though I sent out an e-blast and I put the notices out there, they you know how it is. They don't until at the end they go, oh my gosh, you should have taken that class. So I've got it still up there. So yeah,
good.
That's good. Let's see here.
And again, as I'm from the class and you have a question and the class had closed, please feel free to contact me. I'm here to help, okay?
Yeah, and you're very good at that. I would have to say all the teachers that have been teaching at A4 Artistic have been very, very generous with their time. And even though sometimes we take classes down or the classroom closes, they're still, we leave them up because I know that life gets in the way and you just can't do everything. So we want to make sure that everybody has a good experience and gets their questions answered. Angel, let's see. Okay, sounds good. Thank you. She says, Deb is saying good. Here, I'll post this up. Just okay, sounds good.
You're quite welcome, Deb.
Let's say Angel is saying apparently you need a password. Well, you do need a password to get into the classroom, but once you register, if you don't have a password, I create one for you, so that's not a problem. And it's a password that you will use in all the classes. See, I'm trying to make sure I get all the questions for you, Joe. So, Joe, what's on the horizon after Helen Reddy?
I want to keep creating portrait dolls of famous Hollywood.
Oh, okay.
That's my goal.
Yeah, well, that's great. Who's next in line?
Probably Barbara Streisand.
Oh my God, I love her.
I would love to recreate her from the movie, oh God, 1969, Hello, Dolly.
Oh yeah, that's a fabulous movie. Yeah, she was great in that movie. So is Marilyn close by, Joe, or you have her put up somewhere?
Yeah, it's not here. I can get it for you.
Well, I think the guys would like to see it. I told them they can go to your website to take a look at her, but I didn't know if you had her close by.
It's in the another room, but I can come and get it if you give me a minute, okay?
Oh, yeah, they're asking for right here. Did we get to see Marilyn?
The camera will catch up. The whole thing is it's quite big. It's 20, I think it's 27 inches. The whole mock-up. I'll be right back.
Okay. So while Joe has stepped out of the room, if you guys have any questions for him, please go ahead and post them. And it's just so exciting to have all of you here. Okay, I will put up a couple of questions as soon as he comes back in. Yeah, no, he went to go get Marilyn. It's quite a piece. I've seen it in person. Her dress is just amazing. But like I said, if you go to his website, he has quite a few pictures there of her. I'll post his website again here. Okay, Sandra, I'll ask him this. I know he works pretty big scale. I think he told me like 20 inches, but we'll confirm that when he comes back. Okay, Amanda, we'll ask him about that.
Sorry, I'm back.
No problem.
I need some help.
So, Joe, while you're working and fiddling with that, what size are the dolls that you prefer to work in?
I'm working right now on 18 inches.
18, okay.
Yeah. The reason why is 12 inch is a very good seller. because you know real estate. If you're an avid collector, you only have so much space in your house.
Right.
But it's so difficult to work in something that tiny when you have this big hands, you know. You know, you ladies, you have dainty hands, so it's probably easier for you. But yeah, it's quite difficult to work that small.
Okay. We have a question here. I'll put it up here. Woo! That's kind of, I'll take it down and just, what would be the best advice tips when one is learning to sculpt?
Anatomy, anatomy, anatomy. Okay, that's the first thing you need to learn. You have to learn as most as you can. There's books out there that's called, I think it's called Anatomy for the Artist. Because if you go to the regular anatomy, it's going to show you the inside of the body. You care to the outside and the skeleton that show skeletons and muscles that show through the skin. And that's why you have to go for the anatomy for the artist, not for the medicine world. But that is the first thing you need to do. I suggest you start working with water clay. Water clay is very economical, and the medium is water. So if you want to make it softer, you add water. You mist with a spray bottle. You can mist it. If you finish working for the day, you take a towel, you moisten the towel, you cover the sculpture after you mist it, you put a plastic bag on it, and you leave it. When you come back, that clay is ready to work for you. All you have to do is apply the new clay, work the clay, and let it adjust. What it does is when you put a piece of fresh clay, water clay, on top of the one that you have worked, you're going to notice that the new one is quite soft. But that will go away. Once you quit working with it and you cover it and you come back, the whole sculpture will actually distribute the amount of humidity through it. And then you keep working on it. You can polish it when it's kind of a high shine if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can make molds, but again, it's a fragile thing. In order to make molds from water clay, first you have to seal it so it don't dry quick and the mold doesn't stick to it. But you can still use that. But in order for you to work and get the feeling of water clay is great. It's great. You can moisten it. You can throw it in a bucket, make it soft again. Keep working with it. You have to get clay without a grog. Okay, it's GRO W, I think, something like that. What it means is that it doesn't have big particles in it, and it only a very soft clay. It's usually used when you doing pottery and you actually spinning, you know, on the table, and that's why, because you need to have a very smooth clay. So whatever you buy clay, water clay, ask for clay without grog. And usually you buy the white clay, which it looks gray, of course, when you get it. But if you were to put it in a kiln, when it come out, it's totally white.
Okay. Amanda wants to know if you have the little Fay boy that has the legs of a sheep or a goat that's close by.
Sure, that's Galen. I can get it for you. Hold on. Would you like to see Marilyn first?
Yeah, and I'm going to give you full screen, Joey.
Okay. I'm going to try to move everything out. And bear with me, I had to she's in the front of the house and I had to have it all covered. Okay, I'm gonna try to turn it and see if you guys can see this. It's a little heavy. And down here on the base, the window over here, when the doll actually come into motion, it lights up and you can see all the gears, cams, and rods that are in there. Everything that is embossed in there is plated in 24 karat gold. And there's the jewelry we were talking about. And let me go get Galen. Hold on 1 minute. Bear with me. Oh, here's Galen. Now, the cool thing about this is that I like to use a lot of magnets. So instead of having to poke a hole on the wig, the actually horns are magnetic. And he was a 20, I think it was 25 or 50 piece limited edition. And of course, he's sold out. So there's no more of them. Oops. I had to fix the wig, but that's the fun. So there's your request. He is double jointed on the top, but the legs are single joint, okay? Back to you, Adele.
Okay, we have a question here from Kim. She says, I've been watching Victoria statue revolve in the background.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, she wants to know about what are the wings made of?
Oh, they're feathers. It's the
feathers.
frame and then the feathers. Yeah, put one by one until I create the tip of it are the feathers. You had to trim them and then you had to curl them.
Okay, great. All right, ladies. Any other questions? Thank you so much, Joe. This has just been a great broadcast. I'm sorry that we've had some issues, I know, with the weather and everything. It was tough.
It's pretty bad over here today. Sorry about that.
Yeah, but I want to bring you back when you finish Helen Reddy. I'm sure they would love to hear more about her, and I'm assuming she's right now in pieces, correct?
Yeah, correct. I can show you the box where I have all the parts right now. So she's not even close to being a doll. Okay.
Oh, there she is. She's in pieces.
In pieces. This is the chest part and the battery pack with all the other electronics that goes in here. Mm-hmm. And then wire goes up to the head, and that part I show, the little teeny tiny pot with all the electronics that goes right inside the head in this little part here.
Okay. That's interesting.
Ready and be unveiling at the IDTS show here in Orlando. They're coming down to stay down here. Hopefully it'll be a great show and maybe some of you will come and visit with us.
Yeah. It's what's the dates on that, Joe?
It's in June, but you know what? I'm not sure what is the. Let me check real quick here. I'll just give me a minute.
Yeah, somebody. Oh, here Nona wants to know where David is. Can we meet David? She wants to know.
Oh, sure. I'm sure he's listening.
I'm sure he is.
Hold on, let me go get him.
I'll
He's
give,
he's
huh?
working with the air conditioning. I hope.
Yeah. They're having some terrible weather over there. I know I've got a couple of messages. I can't do anything about that. It's bad on his side. Hey, David,
Hey, everybody.
look at you. I'm going to give you and Joe full screen. Hold on.
Come on.
There we go. He lost 60 pounds. I lost 50. So we're doing good.
I'm 53 this year, and Joey's 59 this year.
Mm-hmm.
We've
And
been
counting.
We've been together almost 15 years.
I think I'm going to be Santa Claus soon.
Anyways, hello, everybody. I'll let you get back to Joey.
Bye, honey.
Thanks. It was nice seeing David. And really, I noticed it the other day when you guys were posting pictures. I think he was in his bowling shirt that you made him. And I could tell. I thought, wow, look how much weight he lost.
He lost 60 pounds, yes.
Well, that's great. I'm glad he popped in here. And Esther just saying June the 28th through July the 2nd is IDTS.
There we go.
Yeah. Well, I thank you so much, Joe, for taking the time and rearranging your studio for everybody to see what you're working on and have worked on. And I know everybody really enjoyed the presentation, and we look forward to having you again. And thanks a million. You're just the best.
Thank you. Thank you so much, guys.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye now.
Bye, Joe. Bye, everybody. Surprises coming up for the next interviews, so we'll be lining all of those out for you as well. And you can continue to comment, and Joe's going to come in here and not, well, as soon as the replay goes up, you can continue to make any comments if you like, or if you have any questions, and they will be answered. Thank you again, everyone, for your support. I appreciate it, and I'm just looking forward to doing more talk shows. I'm working really hard to get some extra special guests on here, and hopefully the Facebook group will get worked out. If not, don't worry about it. There's other places that we can meet up. So we'll talk to you soon. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll keep in touch with you. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.